Hello, welcome to Aaron's Game Room. I'm Aaron as always, and hey, it's February. Normally in February I do videos over two-player games. I know I've kind of missed half the month, but there's still some time left. In fact, just last weekend was Valentine's Day, so you've already unfortunately had your Valentine's Day, and you probably could use some game recommendations for that. Sorry, maybe watch your old videos. But still, let's jump into my usual stuff of two-player games for February, and today I want to talk about a favorite of mine called Orbito. Now, Orbito is an abstract strategy game for two players where you are placing these black and white marbles into this cool little device thing. What the whole gimmick is that the marbles like rotate around the board. They orbit. Basically, as you put them in, you were trying to be the first player to get 4 in a row of your color. That can be up and down, left and right, diagonal, however. It's just a Connect 4 kind of game. But yeah, the whole idea is as you put the balls in, you always have to press this little button at the end that'll make everything rotate. It's super cool. It's a nifty little gimmick and all that. And try and get 4 in a row that way as everything kind of shifts as you go about it. It's pretty neat. It's pretty cool. I will say in general, I always have a bit of a negative tick personally when a game sort of has that big hunk of plastic toyetic sort of component to it. I tend to like stuff to stick more with wood or cardboard or something like that in games. So the toyetic things are always a slight, negative tick for me. But if it's a good game, it's a good game, and it's a good game. Let's get to the table and I'll show you guys how to play. Okay, let's take this out of the box here. There's our rules. This is the board you'll be playing on. You have to make sure you pull up this plunger and rotate it a little bit. That way you can press it down like that. And you can reach in the box here and pull out these trays of these marbles. Give one to each player. And that's all you really need for setup, is just to simply have the board nearby and give players their marbles. It doesn't have any special rules on how you decide who goes first, so just find a way to decide who goes first, And here we go. On your turn, you will be following 3 steps. Now, obviously, on your first turn, you won't be able to take the first step, but every other turn you can. Technically, you're supposed to start your turn by moving one of your opponent's marbles 1 space adjacently. Now, 1 space adjacently means either up, down, left, or right. Up, down, left, right. So no diagonal. So I couldn't move this ball there. I can't move it diagonally like that. But I could move this ball to this space, or I can move it to that space, or this space, or over to this space. Up, down, left, right, of where it is. So the first step of every turn is to move one of your opponent's marbles 1 space to an adjacent space. However, this step is optional. You do not have to take this step. So you can just leave all the marbles in their place. But if you want to move an opponent's marble, you have to do that as the first step of your turn. Once you move on to the next step, you cannot move the marble again. The second thing you do on your turn is to add a marble to the board. You can take one of your marbles and add it to any empty spot on the board. It's that simple. And lastly, the third step, this is not optional either. The second and third steps are mandatory. You must press the center plunger 1 time. As you can see, that rotates all the marbles on the board 1 space counterclockwise. This little inner spot rotates counterclockwise, and the outer spot also rotates counterclockwise. After you press the plunger down, if you have 4 marbles in a row of your color lined up, then you win the game. That's simple. But also, if after you press the plunger, you have 4 marbles lined up in a row of your opponent's color, then they win the game. It doesn't have to be your turn to win the game. So let's say, for example, it's the white player's turn, and they place their marble here and press the button. They now have 4 marbles in a row, thus they win the game. It is possible that after you press the button, both players end up with 4 in a row, and that is simply a draw. There's no tiebreaker situations for these. I want to be clear that if after you press the button, it has to be 4 in a straight line. Going around corners like this doesn't count. But as I've been saying, after you press the button, if you end up with a line either diagonally, horizontally, or vertically, that's a win. Now, there is one more way for the game to end. In a situation where you've played all 8 marbles and neither player has gotten a 4 in a row, you will press the center plunger exactly 5 times. If during those 5 button presses you end up with a 4 in a row, then the game is over and you have your winner or draw or whatever. But if you make it through all 5 and you never end up getting a 4 in a row, then it would just be a draw. Clearly, there were some wins in there, but, you know, examples. And that really should be everything you need to know to play Orbito. I'm a big fan of abstract strategy games, love a good 2-player stuff like this, and the rotation gimmick in this is super cool. Again, big chunks of plastic are a slight negative for me personally, but as I said, if it's a good game, it's a good game, and it's certainly a good game. I wouldn't know a way to do this little gimmick without the big chunk of plastic, so it certainly gets a pass for me. Like a good abstract game, it's deceptively simple, it's very easy, you know, all you're doing is either moving your opponent's marbles or placing your own marbles in, but the fact that you always have to keep track of where they're going to move after that button press is a lot harder than it sounds. Cool little game. I think it's something you can play with all ages. You guys know what I'm going to rate this one probably. Orbito is obviously going to be Baron approved. Oh, I went too fast. I messed it up. Whee!